Canadian Taxpayers Federation has released its annual New Year's Tax Changes report, which highlights the major tax changes for the upcoming new year. CTF is outlining the expected tax increases by the federal and provincial government in 2023. The report covers a range of changes from CPP contributions to carbon pricing to provincial taxes. And with inflation, interest rates, and supply chain concerns continuing to impact Canadians, many households may be interested in any changes to the taxes that they pay. Well, with us now to discuss the 2023 edition of the CTF's New Year's Tax Changes report is Mr. Franco, Terrazzano, Federal Director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Sir, welcome back to Forum Daily.
Thanks for having me on.
So from the looks of it, Canadians are in for multiple new tax increases, Mr. Terrazzano. Can you tell us a little bit more about what they can expect next year?
Unfortunately, Canadians are already struggling to afford groceries and gasoline. You have interest rates that are on the rise. But also, the federal government is going to be raising 5 taxes in 2023. The CPP tax is going up. The EI tax is going up. The carbon tax is going up. Alcohol taxes, well, you guessed it, also going up. And the federal government is also imposing a second carbon tax next year through fuel regulations.
Sounds like a lot to expect, Mr. Terrazzano. Now, this report also mentions bracket creep, which occurs when governments don't adjust their tax brackets with inflation. So tell us a little bit more about this and how apparent this is across Canada.
The good news is that most provinces and the federal government do not have bracket creep because they do move brackets with inflation. But unfortunately, you have provinces like Nova Scotia, like Prince Edward Island, that have bracket creep. And with inflation so high, this bracket creep income tax is going to really sting for those taxpayers. So, for example, in Nova Scotia, bracket creep could cost up to $653 in 2023. In Prince Edward Island, bracket creep could cost up to $263 in 2023.
All right, sir. And I want to jump into some of these other tax increases expected across the country, including carbon pricing. We know the CTF has been very vocal around carbon pricing. What's the situation next year when it comes to this?
Well, in come April 1, 2023, the carbon tax is going up. Higher gas prices, higher home heating bills. Now, some of Trudeau's politicians claim that families will be better off with this carbon tax and rebate scheme. But come on, I mean, if you think that the carbon tax, the government is going to raise taxes, skim some off the top, and then make everyone better off, well, then we've got some Ocean View property in Regina to sell you. But hold on a second, because the parliamentary budget officer shows that the government's claims have been incorrect. And in fact, in 2023, the carbon tax will cost the average family anywhere between $402 all the way up to $847, even after the rebates.
And on top of that, we know the CTF is highlighting clean fuel regulations as a second carbon tax. So tell us a little bit more about that and how that's going to impact industry and consumers.
So here's how it works. If producers can't meet the government's requirements, they're going to have to pay the second carbon tax. But economists and the government's own number crunchers show that the costs are really going to be felt by all of us when we're fueling up at the pumps. In fact, the government's numbers suggest that the second carbon tax could increase the price of gasoline by up to 13 cents by 2030. And the government's own analysis shows who's really going to feel the pinch the most from the second carbon tax: lower and middle income Canadians, Canadians who are already struggling with energy poverty, like single mothers and the seniors who are living on fixed incomes.
All right, Mr. Terrazzano, a little over a minute left here, but we're talking a lot about tax increases. What are some instances of tax relief across Canada, federally and provincially, especially when compared to other peer countries?
Well, you've got Alberta that is ending bracket creep. It's also suspending gas taxes. Ontario providing gas tax relief. You got New Brunswick providing significant income tax relief up to $1,300. But we have to also talk about the payroll tax hikes from the federal government. In 2023, if you're making $67,000 or more, you're going to be paying about 300 extra bucks because of the payroll tax hikes, but even that downplays the total bill. In 2023, through the payroll tax, a worker making $67,000 or more will pay about 4,700 bucks in payroll taxes in 2023.
Lots to consider, Mr. Terrazzano. And if anyone wants more information, they can visit the CTF's website. Again, Mr. Terrazzano, we appreciate your time.
Happy New Year.